At the comments, the majority of them are on one subject, so while it's important to everybody, if you could keep it at 2 minutes, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Good evening, everyone. Near the end of the 2 minutes, I believe we have another board member, Amy Beth, who will give you a heads up when you're nearing your time. I apologize in advance if I mispronounce anyone's name. Some of the handwriting is even worse than mine, believe it or not. But all right, so first up, Lynn Aron.
Good evening, Board of Directors, administrators, and community members. I am Lynn Aron, a retired Gettysburg Area School District teacher. I taught in the district for 40 years. Everyone who knows me, my family, friends, past students, their parents, and colleagues know how passionately I feel about having had such an amazing opportunity to teach children in the Gettysburg Area School District. I involved myself in every aspect of teaching that Gettysburg had to offer. I was one of several teachers and an administrator that created our own after-school program at Lincoln Elementary for all children. I found Gettysburg Area School District during my 40 years to be a school district that was constantly searching and open to new programs to help every child in the community to learn. Throughout my career, I taught elementary curriculum to 5th graders, including social studies. During my time at Gettysburg, I was proud to serve in the district's strategic planning committee, which included teachers, administrators, and parents. And I hope to serve again as a community member. As a team, we updated and revised the Gettysburg social studies curriculum to include the teaching of diversity, which met the PA standards. It is time that the Gettysburg Area School District posts all of its curriculum. I've always felt the support of the school board members, administrators, and parents. Recently, I was saddened by the Gettysburg Times article that attacked a Gettysburg area school teacher that I served on committees with. All Gettysburg area teachers are evaluated by Gettysburg area administrators to ensure that the Gettysburg area curriculum is being taught. Gettysburg School Board member president last month said this teacher has an impeccable career. I was hoping that the Gettysburg area administrators and school board members would immediately inform the Gettysburg Times that this teacher is an asset to the district. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Lynn. Next, we have Amanda Grant.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Grant, and I'm a parent of a student within the district. I'm a Gettysburg graduate and a secondary level teacher in another district. I would like to thank the members of the board and all who are here tonight for their commitment and dedication to our students. Tonight, I am asking you to continue supporting our community's right to choose whether our students and staff wear masks. In my 12+ years of teaching in public education, the last few years have been the hardest. I will not tell my students what to believe, but instead teach them, I get to a part that's hard, but instead teach them to think critically about the information being presented and to analyze it based on their personal morals and standards. I am not used to sharing my opinions in a public setting, but there comes a time when we must speak out. In the past year, I have seen firsthand an increase in the number of the students suffering with depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations, as well as the attempts at, and even tragically, the completion of suicide. More and more young adults have been hospitalized or needed counseling services. This is reaching a desperate level, and it is my belief that we need to dismiss terminology that feels hopeless to our children, such as the new normal, and work to return to normalcy for the mental health of our children. For some students, masking causes anxiety and panic attacks. But to share that information puts them in the spotlight, exactly where those students do not wish to be. For others, not wearing a mask causes them to feel exposed to the virus. In all situations, fighting for and preserving the rights for families to choose whether or not to wear a mask should be paramount. While health and safety encompasses many aspects, I believe the mental health piece must be the most important when we consider that, according to WebMD's article, Coronavirus Recovery, the overall COVID-19 recovery rate is 97% to 99.75%. Everyone here this evening has their own beliefs formed by their own experiences. In no way do I diminish these, but I prayerfully ask you to continue to support the option for families to do what they believe is best. Masks seem like such a small issue, but what they symbolize and the power of the mandate represent so much more. I pray that you have the wisdom and discernment to make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Next, we have Jenna Scott.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jenna Scott, and I'm a graduate of Gettysburg District and currently reside in the district. First, I'd like to thank the administration for adhering to the state masking requirement. Knowing that our educators, students, and community will have additional safety measures to prevent the spread of COVID is comforting. As we know, COVID is not only a health safety issue, but is one that magnifies equity gaps. Students learn best in person, especially those most underserved, including students with disabilities, English learners, homeless students, and more broadly, students from economically disadvantaged families, as a result of being less likely to have a parent who is able to stay home during the day for online virtual learning. Further, and importantly, students suffer much less social and emotional trauma, as proven through the U.S. Department of Education research, when they are able to learn in person. Therefore, preventing community spread of COVID is essential. In addition to the equity issues created due to COVID, Gettysburg continues to have growing equity gaps in achievement. This is particularly illuminated when reviewing federal and state data for achievement and growth scores. I would like to better understand how the board is supporting the district administration and its teachers to address these achievement gaps. Most importantly, what is the overarching district comprehensive plan, including Title I plans, to close the gaps and create an equitable learning environment for all students? How are district plans incorporating evidence-based practices from the U.S. Department of Education's Institute of Education Sciences and Office of Elementary and Secondary Education? In my review of the plans, I saw very little documentation of evidence as specified in the federal Every Student Succeeds Act. As an example of a best practice to close achievement gaps documented by the U.S. Department of Education is using culturally responsive and sustaining curriculums that focus on student assets and cultural capital. How is the district incorporating culturally responsive and sustaining curriculums? As of now, the district administration does not publicly post its curriculum. In watching what my daughter was learning last year as a second grader at Lincoln, it did not appear that the curriculum was embracing such pedagogy. But again, since it was not posted or communicated to parents, I'm unable to truly know. I ask that the board hold the district administration accountable for implementing evidence-based, culturally responsive, and sustaining curriculum that will lead to better outcomes for all students. The curriculum should incorporate professional learning for educators, including central office administrators, principals, and teachers. As the district considers how to strengthen its plan, both comprehensive and Title I, to best leverage federal money for important sources such as Title I and II, as well as local tax dollars, I also ask that the board better assess how the district is leveraging its ESSER
Thank you,
funding.
Jenna. We need to move on. Thank you. You can we'll put if you have it in writing there, we'll take that and put it into the records there. But we want to make sure and give everybody an opportunity.
I understand. I do ask that next time it's communicated early how long people have to speak. That would be
Amy
very
Beth, if you
beneficial.
could give everyone a 30-second heads up, that would be good.
Absolutely.
Do you have something that you want to finish?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Yes, just speaking now from not reading as fast as I possibly could, I'm very concerned that we have plans in place in this district and stakeholders are not engaged in the process. That is not what the federal requirements state. I am not seeing that at all, and it very much concerns me. I understand that we have different perspectives, and incorporating different perspectives in the development of plans, particularly those that are using evidence-based practices as required by ESSA and as required federally, it's essential. I do this for a living. I work with state education agencies. I work with districts. We're not doing it here, and we need to start doing it.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be heavy-handed. That's why I asked you if you had something you wanted to wrap up or finish.
Yes.
That's not our goal here this evening. We just wanted to try to move because we have
Understand.
some hot topic items.
I
to
understand.
discuss.
I understand.
So
Thank
the
you.
administration's here. I'm sure they've heard what you're requesting. I see Jason taking notes. So hopefully you'll get an answer. I mean, obviously the board can't provide you that answer. That would come from them.
No, but I will say I have spoken with administration, and I do think it's important for the board to have oversight that this is actually taking place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sylvia.
Thank you. Next, we have Pamela Keller.
Good evening. So I printed out this order. This order is not an order of law. It is just an order. It is a strong recommendation that we wear a mask. And this morning, my son was denied his education and was not permitted into the building because he would not wear a mask. So what are my tax dollars paying for? Secondly, I think we all need to read the Constitution, Article 1, Section 27. Lastly, how many of us signed in tonight using the same pen, touched that same door handle out there, or sitting in a seat with somebody else that maybe was sick a week ago? Think about that for a minute. It's not wearing a mask, it's touching things. If this COVID was such a big deal, why isn't the school shut? School isn't shut, because then we won't get the funding. This isn't an order of law, it's just a recommendation. And I do not appreciate my son being denied his education this morning because he refused to wear a mask.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. Next, we have Suzanne Seibel.
I, like Jenna, prepared and read your policies, and there's no time limit in the policies, so I know I'm going to go a little bit over 2 minutes. I am the center director at St. James Lutheran Church Early Learning Center, and I have been there for 23 years. We've been told over and over that the goal this year is in-person learning. However, the current health and safety plan that is posted on the website and the most recent agenda item added to the website makes me wonder if that's truly your goal. I had the pleasure of attending Meet the Teacher Night with my great niece. Yeah, I'm that old. I have a great niece. I was really upset with what I saw because I know what the current guidelines are. Desks were not 3 feet apart. They're 1-foot tiles. A monkey can count to 2. I barely fit in between the rows. I'm not a huge person. That should not have happened. 95% of the grown-ups weren't wearing a mask indoors, which disappointed me, because they're the role models for these children that we're raising. Disturbed by these observations, I tried to rationalize things in my head. The grown-ups weren't closer than 6 feet to us. They were in and out of the classrooms, yada, yada, yada. That's when I went to the health and safety plan. First, I was concerned with item 1, paragraph 3. It states that the Gettysburg Area School District is considering the recommendations,
30 seconds.
not adhering to the recommendations. I further was shocked to read in 3F, one word was changed. Students and employees are encouraged to report a positive case. They're not required. That is sad. I'm so disappointed. I called the representatives at the Department of Health, and they said, their response was, this is how school districts are getting around things. They're changing one word, and they're hoping the community doesn't read it and doesn't know any better. Now, we've been in school for 2 weeks. First, one child care center that has 3 sites closed for the first week. 250 children had no care for the first week of school. Right now, another center in our county is closed while a staff person is hospitalized, and
3 other staff have tested positive for COVID, leaving 100 children without care. I describe the COVID guidelines as a puzzle. We need all the pieces for it to work. We're not doing any of it. We're not social distancing, where students are traveling the hall, crossing each other. We're not wearing masks. I don't think everybody has to wear a mask. This is one piece of the puzzle. But if we put all the pieces together, we have a better chance of remaining open and reaching the goal of in-person learning for the school year. I'm speaking from experience. We opened our program in May 2020, and I've only had to close 3 classrooms. I haven't had to close my entire building, and yeah, I'm knocking on. So, I think the agenda item to take the time of our solicitor is a waste of time because it's a waste of financial resources. It's a waste of our energy because we're going to be denied. 3 other school districts in this county have already tried, and their solicitors have said it's a waste of time.
Thank you, but you have doubled your time.
Well, like I said, it needs to be in the policy that's posted on your website.
Thank you, Suzanne. Next, we have Siri Phelps.
Good evening. I'm here as a parent. I have 2 children in the district. First, I just want to thank Dr. Perrin for the email that was sent last week. I was very happy to read it and see that the district would be upholding the state's mask mandate. I was also glad to see that there was an FAQ page posted and that there was a COVID chart on the website similar to the dashboard from last year. I think it's really important for the district to have transparency and communication with parents, so I was very happy to see that. In looking at the chart today, it was last updated last Friday, it said that there were 17 positive cases within our last 14 days. So I figure 17 positive cases. Looking at that, so if we take a positive case and we figure that that then leads to the quarantine of, say, 5 to 10 additional students who were exposed and within proximity to that positive case, we're talking about just within the first 2 weeks of the school year, 100 to 200 students being quarantined. And that worries me as we continue into the year if there's the discussion of masks not being required, that number is just going to multiply. And if we want to talk about students being denied their education, then that applies to students who are being forced to quarantine because they're exposed to classmates not wearing masks and potentially bringing COVID into the classroom. Our students were required to wear masks last year, and I think we did a pretty good job with that.
30
I think
seconds.
that our closings, luckily, were very limited. I think our quarantines were limited, and I would like to see that continue this year. I think it's important that we also focus on what Dr. Perrin said about putting our differences aside and realizing that all of us here want kids in school. All of us want kids learning in person with their teachers. That's how students' needs are met. That's how students who have special needs or are lacking things at home can get those things by being here in the school where they can be supported by our wonderful faculty. So I ask that you uphold the mask mandate, which will allow students to be here and hopefully limit the number of quarantines throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Siri. Next, we have Sarah. And Sarah, I apologize, I'm having trouble making out your last name. Sarah from Friendship Lane.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear that. And I'm reminding everybody, but I'm not going to go back and forth. We're all grown adults in here. We can have a civil conversation. I shouldn't even have to intervene. So I'm going to remind everybody again, agree or don't agree, allow whoever's speaking to finish their comments. We're doing the best we can up here. We're taking that into consideration, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And Sarah, what is your last name? Help me out.
It's okay, Dr. Moyer. It's Breckbuell, and it's difficult. And you coached my son, Max, and it was hard then, too.
Well,
Thank you for coaching him.
Well, he asked me, and I couldn't read it.
It's so hard. I mean,
couldn't read
I
it.
did not marry up in the last name department. I feel that it's likely I will get booed. I'm totally fine with that. But I would also like to echo what Ms. Phelps said in her thanking you for the support of the mask mandate. I would encourage you to continue to enforce the mask mandate. I did not come with anything prepared. I just want to share with you, I am a family that has been impacted by COVID. We've lost 2 family members. Every time we tell anybody that, they're very sorry for our loss. They ask if there was a pre-existing condition. In both cases, there was not. Right now, I would not like to rely on WebMD and everyone else's feelings, and I understand that it's hard that a child is turned away, but I also understand that there are several things that the school does to make sure that our children are safe, including enforcing dress codes, which are also, I believe, in violation of our children's First Amendment rights. So I would ask that you keep our children safe, that you keep them masked, and that you do everything you can to keep them in person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Christine Hopkinson.
Hello. Thank you for letting me make a comment. My name is Christine Hopkinson. I'm the parent of 2 Gettysburg Area School District elementary school children. When I saw the email from Dr. Perrin last week, I originally planned to come today to thank him for sending that out, for saying that we were going to adhere to the mask mandate, and also for putting up the COVID dashboard again. It's something that I think is helpful for us to have, just to have data to make our own decisions as parents, or just know what the general COVID situation is in the district. So thank you, Dr. Perrin, for that. Then last night I looked at the agenda for tonight and noticed this item regarding the possibility of challenging the Department of Health's mask mandate. I was shocked, and so I wanted to come express that. I support the mandate, and I'm surprised that you all would even spend your time challenging this. I assume the majority of you disagree with it, since you did not want to have a mandate, you didn't want to make one yourselves, but the mandate was implemented statewide because of rising COVID cases, and I would expect the district to follow that. Think about the lesson that we're setting for our children by saying, we don't have to follow this, we don't have to do what they're telling us to do. Again, you have a dress code for children, there's rules about behavior that children have to follow. I don't get to make that choice for my child, and we shouldn't get to make the choice for this either. It can be temporary, that's fine, but I would hope that you all would adhere to that mandate. I believe that you have a responsibility to ensure the safety of all of our children in the district, regardless of political affiliation or personal views, and so I would ask that you take this responsibility seriously and follow the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. Janine Weaver.
Hello, my name is Janine Weaver. I am the parent of 4 children in the district. I have 2 in James Geddes, 1 in the middle school and 1 in the high school. First, I'd like to say thank you for following the mask mandate, as everyone, so far has, and for having the COVID tracker up. That gives me a peace of mind when I can know that, okay, there's only 1 case in James Geddes, and that makes me feel comfortable to send my child masked to school. Now, to move on, I'm actually disappointed to see that we're not enforcing the mask mandate here at this meeting. If we look in the audience, the majority are not masked. What happened to the mask mandate then? Also, and more disappointing, are the school board members that are sitting up there without masks. It's a mandate. We're telling our children we have to do it. What kind of example are you setting for the children? Now, next, I would like to remind you of a quote that's in your oath of office. You are oath to us to do certain things. First of all, it says that the future welfare of this community, of this state, and of this nation depends on the largest measures upon the quality of education we provide in the public schools to fit every learner. The quality means in person. In-person school is where we have quality teaching. I have a child, someone was talking about suicide rates. I have a
30
child
seconds.
that tried to commit suicide at the age of 9. I spent months in the hospital with him. And let me tell you, having him at home, closed up with a computer, and no other students and no teachers to teach him was way worse than what it is having a mask on his face in school. I'd like to go on that another statement in the oath of office is to resist every temptation and outside pressure to use my position as a school
Thank you for your
board member
time. Your
to
time is
benefit. You
up.
let everyone else go. I'm going to continue speaking, please. Thank you.
Your time
so
is up.
you let everyone else speak. Now,
I'm controlling the meeting. You can
well,
finish your thought.
Yes, but she didn't do that to anyone else. That needs to be acknowledged.
We're not going to argue back and forth.
Okay,
Finish
thank
your
you.
thoughts, please.
So, outside pressure to use, let me start that over so it's clear. To resist every temptation and outside pressure to use my position as a school board member to benefit with myself or any individual or agency apart from the total interest of the school district. You are being faced with anti-maskers that are Moms of Liberty. That is an individual organization that does not have the focus of our children. We are here to focus on our children, not this political
Thank you,
group
Janine.
that they have caused.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Chris Seitz.
Good evening. My name is Chris Seitz. I'm married with 3 children, all 7 and under. I have a teaching degree in health and physical education. I'm a veteran and a local realtor and resident of Gettysburg. My 4-year-old daughter will be attending the preschool program this fall without a face mask. Although I've been vocal privately and online, I've never been to a school board meeting. Here I am. It's better to be, sorry, I lose my point. There are 3 points that I'd like to talk to you about regarding face coverings. Point 1, I will not mask my 4-year-old daughter. 4-year-old daughter. By now, I'm sure everyone is aware of the exemption available online of this so-called mandate. Section 3B of the Department of Health school mask order grants the option to, get rid of the mask. As a parent, you should not have to consult your doctor to get a note for this or fill out special paperwork, but I guess everybody's going to do that. We're going to fill out some special paperwork, and we're going to, go at it at that route. I printed out something that I'd like to send to each one of you. I'll probably send this out to you tomorrow morning. 32 adverse health effects that have been noted regarding wearing face masks. Physiological, psychological, and other health consequences. I'm not going to get into it because it'll take too long. Point number 2, I will not mask my 4-year-old daughter. There is no face covering protocols that I'm aware of. Last year, I received no pamphlet regarding instructions on how a child should put on a mask. Give me 1 more minute, please. Take the mask off, clean it, store it. My nephew indicated last year that he sneezed into his mask. He flipped it inside out. That's great. Point number 3, I will not be masking my 4-year-old daughter. We are not created to breathe our own exhaust and hide behind what makes each of us wonderfully unique. One of the school board members and I talked about this past week, losing funding. The superintendent could lose their job. I don't want to see anybody lose their job or lose funding, but we need to get above the money and do what is right for our kids. In summary, I'd just like to say, can anybody guess? I will not be masking my 4-year-old daughter. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
On a side note, you can slow down. We're not going to go heavy-handed. We're just trying to keep it to 2 minutes. I'm allowing people to finish their comments so everybody can take a deep breath while they're speaking. They don't have to rattle through.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chris. Next, we have Michael Flaherty.
Hello, this is also my first time at a board meeting, and I do carry my own pen and my own hand sanitizer, and it's a pain in the butt, but it works. Although we do know that COVID, well, I'm deferring to the CDC. The Center for Disease Control is one of the most reputable, respected agencies in the world, and I mean the world, not just the United States. Why does that matter? Because the Pennsylvania Department of Health follows the Center for Disease Control guidelines. And the board is following, or the school district is following those guidelines. I understand the passion here. I get fired up too. It's one of the reasons I wasn't even going to come here. And I really understand where everyone's coming from. I just want people to be practical. I'm the parent of 3 kids in this school district, 3 students. And I'm also have a Master of Public Health degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, but I'm not speaking from a public health perspective. It is one of the greatest disasters in our country's history. We're not going to be talking very much about the Spanish flu, which actually didn't start in Spain, but we're going to be talking about what did we do about it. The board has such a tough decision, and I understand it's really tough. My kids are all in high school. It's really tough with parents that have those young kids, whether it's a 4-year-old or kids in middle school or whatever. I mean, kids in elementary school, really tough for them. There are some alternatives, but let's be practical. The one thing that we really want is to keep the schools open. We want in-person education. And the way we can do that is by having the mitigation. By Center Disease Control guidelines, if someone is near someone that turns out positive and they have a mask and the person that turns out positive have a mask, they don't need to quarantine. They don't need to shut down the classroom. They only need to remove 1 student. They keep it open. So let's be practical. If you want to fight against masks, we need to take it to Harrisburg, not to this board that's only doing what they have to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Jeremiah Light.
Hello, everybody. I've been here a couple times to talk to you guys, and glad to see at least one other person, out here talking against, child abuse that is putting masks on young children. I have 3 children that are in elementary school, and frankly, I'll just say that putting a mask on them for 8 hours a day is child abuse. There's no reason that they should be doing this. I think somebody came and talked at the last meeting and said they were a college professor or something along those lines, and that, it was fine wearing masks all day for them. But of course, they're leaving after every class and going out to the quad or whatever they want to do, walking around. They can take it off. These kids are stuck in a room for 8 hours a day with a mask, rebreathing their own exhaust, their own carbon dioxide, their own bacteria. I think it was found that a group of parents sent masks that had been laundered off to a lab to get tested a couple months back, and it came back with tons of different types of bacteria on these masks. Even after the masks had been washed, the bacteria was present. So our kids are going to be wearing these masks, potentially causing other issues like hypoxia, bacterial pneumonias from wearing masks all day. It's completely pointless. The masks were worn last year, and there were still quarantines of different grades. So how did that happen? The mask didn't stop it. It's a joke.
30 seconds.
Basically, the point of the mask mandates is because eventually they want to have vax mandates. That's what it's all for. So you got to have mask mandates, wear your mask, so that later, you got to get your vax or you can't come to class. You got to get your vax. That's what it's all about. And I'm not going to submit to either one of these things. It's ridiculous, and the governor doesn't have this authority. He didn't get his way from the school boards, the majority of school boards, so he decided, I'll just mandate it this roundabout way from some law from 1929. Let this last thing. Acting Secretary Bream, that has no medical background at all, she's a lawyer, instituted this because she said there was a viral outbreak. It's only from one confirmed case in Annville, Cleona School District, and that school district advised there was one case, and they decided to cancel a football game. That's what she's using as the basis for this. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I hope you guys fight back, because if not, I think it's basis for some of you to lose your positions and other people to come in and fight for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Next, we have Caitlin Ricard.
Good evening. I have 2 students in the Gettysburg School District. I am here to extend support for continuing the mask optional plan. After all, I'm the one who signs the permission slips. I provide permission for things to be administered at school. I provide permission for my children to participate in school activities. Not the administration, not the school board, nor any other person in this community or the Department of Health or government entity. Why? Because they are my children. I disagree with bringing masks back into the school as a mandate. Not only is it detrimental for health reasons, but mental health as well. For some on the board who did not wish to hear the statistics last summer regarding the mental health, but rather told the school board member to choose which student died from COVID. Mental health is just as important as medical. According to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, suicide is the 2nd leading cause of death in PA from ages 10 to 34. COVID isn't even in the top 10. According to the CDC, beginning in March of 2020, the rate of mental health in emergency department visits increased 31%. Occurring in that was adolescents ages 12 to 17. In May 2020, during that time frame, the rates went up in girls. Suspected suicide attempts, 50.6%. During that same time frame, the ages of 12 to 17 for adolescent males increased 3.7%. Last year, it was made pretty clear from those who were pro-mask that if I didn't want my child to wear a mask to school, I had other options. Well, this year, for those who want every kid in a mask that is not yours, you have other options as well. I've watched kids over the summer be able to be together, play, and learn together, some with and some without masks. They did just fine. According to the PA Constitution, Article 1, Section 27, the rights to clean air and pure water is equivalent to the right of speech. With a mask on my child, that is not receiving clean air at all, but rather breathing in moisture particles that gather in that mask over the course of the day. I have one more remark.
Go ahead and finish.
We are told that masking helps others and ourselves. It becomes a psychological warfare. Wearing a mask is no different. One loses their identity by covering their face. They lose their individuality. Last year, my elementary student was made fun of due to the type of mask that she was wearing. That prompted her to change what she wore, all because of kids saying stupid stuff. So no, I don't think it should be a mandate. I will continue to fight for kids around this district and anywhere, because it should be a choice. I don't parent with any other parent except for my husband. My children are my responsibility and nobody else's. What happens to them is my responsibility. It should be a choice to the parents.
Thank you, Caitlin. Next, we have Jason Hellsley.
Hello, I'm here. I have a son that goes to this school. I'm here to oppose the mask mandate. Let's just get to the real. We've been lied to by the CDC all year long. Dr. Fauci is a liar. Simple as that. There's red states, Florida, Texas, are bigger than this state, bigger than that. They have no more COVID problems than states that are locking us down like prisoners, locking our children down like prisoners. It's more risk for them to be wearing them stupid masks. They're breathing in all their carbon dioxide, like it was said. Let's talk about the lunacy of the CRT also that they're bringing to our schools, where my son, for being a white kid, is an oppressor. He's never owned a slave in his entire life. Neither has anybody in my bloodline. So there's more lunacy. And we got people like Tom Wolf that put this mask mandate in effect that was asymptomatic and was spreading it all around for how many days? 8 days, and he had 2 more days of quarantine, which I've had coronavirus. My son had it. I'll tell you how serious it was. They told my son not even to be tested because it's not that serious for kids, and that's by Dr. Hope Zokenjager, which I know many of you all also use. He had a fever for 3 hours. Everybody that called it, we followed the mask mandates, everything. It still hits your home. That stupid little cloth isn't going to protect you from coronavirus. I hate to break it to you. Once it's there, you're not going to run and hide from it.
30
We
seconds.
have to live with coronavirus, and learning to live with it and being locked down like prisoners and putting a stupid cloth on your face that isn't going to help you anyway, and probably damage these poor young kids, as they say, way worse, and the best way to keep our schools open is, like the power has, I thought was stripped away from Tom Wolfe, that he can't make these stupid decisions. We need to, it doesn't help. The bottom line is mask or, it's like he said, next thing is going to be the vaccine mandate. It's one thing to another. When's it going to stop? It's been 2 years. None of their little experiments have worked, so. If you want to put a mask on your child and you think it makes them feel safe, God gives you that right. Go ahead and do it. But as far as somebody else's child, don't make a decision for us over 99.8% success rate that you will survive from the coronavirus. Common sense, people. It's not 30%, 10%. It's not even 1%. Just use your heads.
Thank you, Jason. Next, we have Marianne. And Marianne, I'm apologizing in advance. I think it says Ockers. You may have to help me out on that, from Stratton Street. Marianne Ockers, I think. Join the club.
Okay, hi, I'm...
Pronounce your last name for us.
Okers, Okers, like O-K-E-R-S.
Thank you.
Okers, yeah. And thank you for letting me speak. I'm a grandmother. Excuse me, my husband and I retired here from the Philadelphia area in 2009. Our grandchildren are back in the Philly area, so we obviously don't have any children here in the school district. This is my second time here at a school district board meeting, and I was really interested last month, and I wasn't even thinking about making any comments, but I have a couple things that I'd like to ask about that concern me as a parent, a grandparent, as a person of Gettysburg, as a person of the world. You talk about achievement gap. And we do have achievement gaps on the local level. Obviously, there's a lot of achievement gap that we see on the streets every day when we see children and we hear children and we interact with children. We know there's a big achievement gap. There's also a huge achievement gap between American children and children of other countries in the world, and I think it's really, really disgraceful. Okay, but the big thing I'm concerned about is reading. I'd like to know how we find out where the children are throughout their school experience in terms of their reading levels. We hear that, kids aren't even reading at, third grade level or fifth grade. Pardon me?
30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Ma'am,
I'd
take
like
your
to
time.
know where I would go to find out how our children are doing in the schools, from elementary through high school. How are they doing reading? Because if children can't read, if adults can't read, they're doomed. So where do we go to find that information? Can you tell me?
Jason.
I'm sorry, Marianne, we will have one of our members of the administrative team, probably our assistant superintendent, follow up with you on that. There's a lot of information regarding state assessment scores and things like that regarding reading and other subject areas on our website, as well as the PDE website. And I'm sure Dr. Perrin and Dr. Lay and others would be able to provide that for you. And I think we have your contact information.
Sure, but just off the cuff, where do we stand with when kids graduate from high school, when they graduate from the middle school? How are they doing in reading? Anybody know? that's something to be interesting to find out. So I'll look forward to hearing about that. The other thing is, this is the second meeting I've attended, and I've also, for the second time, heard this culturally responsive curriculums. I'd like a definition of what a culturally responsive curriculum is, and I'd like to know how it would be implemented by the teachers and how it would be presented and how it would be monitored, because I too am concerned about this critical race theory, and I don't have any huge objection to making sure children learn history and all aspects of history. But I think it's important how it's taught and how our children are feeling about themselves when they leave school. Okay? So those are my two concerns as a concerned grandparent. Okay.
Marianne,
Thank you.
thanks for passing along your concerns. Thanks for coming tonight. And on behalf of the board, thank you to everyone who chose to speak tonight and everyone who chose to attend. I'll turn things back over to President Hassinger.
Routine approvals. First off, for the board, I did not receive an email, but I did speak with one board member. Is there an item under routine approvals that a board member would like separated right now prior to any motions?
Mr. President, Kathleen Pratt. Kathleen Pratt, I'd like to request that 5.2 work session meeting minutes August 2nd and 5.3 regular board meeting minutes August 2nd are removed.
I will remove 5.2 and 5.3 from the routine approvals, one vote, and we'll take those two items separately after we go through routine, the regular routine. So may I have a motion on routine approvals, specifically 5.1, 5.4, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, and 5.8.
So moved.
Second.
Sylvan Hershey, second.
Question? Carrie?
A question.
Yes.
On the 5.4, the regular board meeting minutes, there are two items to be adjusted, and that would include.
So you want to remove 5.4 because I don't want to lump them together. So 5.2.
We can remove it, or I suppose it could be edited and it's accepted. But if you prefer I remove it, I can do that.
I think I have to, only because if you're going to you would make a motion to adjust or to modify or to correct any inaccuracy in the minutes, which would be a separate motion before we would move forward. So I'm going to restart this. 5.1, 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8. May I have a motion for those routine approvals, please?
Mike Dickerson, so moved.
I think I still do want to ask a question. I know we're going to remove those items, but you did ask for discussion.
I'm coming back to those
Okay.
after this
All right.
particular one. May I have a motion, please?
Mike Dickerson, so moved.
Tim Sigmund, second.
Question on the items up for a vote.
5.7, this is Amy Beth Hodges. I was hoping to get a little clarification. What we have in front of us here, folks, is the licenses and nursing services and the agreements. I was hoping for a little bit more information before I was able to vote on this. I didn't feel like we got a full picture as to where we're at with our nursing staffing and what we would be obtaining. So I guess probably best for you, Dr. Perrin. I don't know who I would ask other than you at this point.
Belinda might be able to jump in as well.
Belinda?
Sure. We doing contracted service to assist with the growing need of our students. We have students either through individualized education plans or through 504 accommodation plans that require sometimes individual nursing services. And our nursing staffs obviously are supporting full buildings, so at times it is to our financial benefit to contract the services out as needed and as those different things arise.
Do we currently have a number of nurses that are needed for our district?
I'm sorry.
Do we currently have a number as to how many nurses are needed for our district, for our current need?
I think it's 1 or 2.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Is that the nurses, is this contract just through the end of ESSERS? And if it is, would we come back and then discuss it as an entity for a contract for a normal budget item?
I believe I know Bob worked on the contract with the agency. I believe it would be a yearly. Is it a yearly approval, Belinda, for the?
Yes, it's a yearly approval. I'm looking for it. Don't see it right away, but I know that there's a provision in the contract that either party can pull away without cause. I think with either 30 or 60 days notice, something along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Perrin, are the positions tied to this contract listed as a health room nurse on the human resource document or a family navigator? Which one are they referring to?
Dr. Soliday, as I understand, it is for several special education students that need additional services that our current nursing staff cannot address or handle. So from my understanding, it is normal nursing services, but it is not specific to day-to-day activity. It is to address several students that are special needs.
So a follow-up question on the human resource document. The family navigator positions are in addition to those that would be covered by this contract?
Hi, I'm Tam McConaughey, HR coordinator. The position that's in here to fill the classified health room nurse, that's a position we've been trying to fill for the last several months. It's a district-wide position, and to go to some of our non-pubs. The family navigator paraprofessional, we're just going to hire with ESSER funds, a one-year position, and it's to help with our social worker. Our plan is to hire 5 of those.
And just to clarify then, what would the job title be for, related to this contract through USA
I think it's
Staffing?
just a contracted nursing staff. I don't think we have a particular name for it. The nurses that we hire in the district are either health room assistants or health room nurses or certified school nurses. I don't think anybody in the contract is going to fall in under one of those names, just like a traveling nurse.
Traveling nurse. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I have additional questions. I don't know if you get them or somebody else does. In the contract, it does reference that after the first 4 hours, the district needs to let USA Staffing know whether or not they want that person to continue, and if they don't, that they are pretty much stuck with that person. Also, it does reference overtime, which it seems a little unusual for a school position that's designated time. On the second page, under item 10, there's a D, no, excuse me, let me go down here to, where's the one? Oh, no, it's E. Not entrust USA employees with any vehicle, mobile equipment, keys, merchandise, confidential or trade secret information, unattended, premise, cash, checks, credit cards, negotiable instruments, or any other valuables without USA's express prior written consent or as strictly required by the job description provided to USA Staffing. But yet we can allow them to have access to student records. It seems contradictory. I think there was one more. Oh, also, it does also, I'm going to use the word sniff test for whether or not this person is an employee, because the district is responsible for the evaluation of anyone under this USA Staffing. They're also giving directions, and they are working at the Gettysburg site and expected to follow those guidance as policies and whatnot. So it does seem a bit strange that we're using temporary staffing when a lot of what's in here looks like employee. So how are we protecting the district from the difference between a temporary staff person that could be within 4 hours know whether or not they are of quality, but yet they aren't trustworthy enough to handle certain items as mentioned in 10E, and yet not considered an employee? How is the district being protected from that situation?
Bob, is there anything you wanted to add since you reviewed the contract?
The contract, in my opinion, is, it would not be before the board if I had not approved it. We made extensive changes to it. The contract that was offered initially was very different than what you have in front of you. These people are not employees of the Gettysburg Area School District, and I don't think a court would find them to be employees of the Gettysburg Area School District. In terms of liability and supervision and control, we would have the same supervision and control over these people as we do over any employee, and therefore the same liability. And in terms of being satisfactory, if an employee proves to be unsatisfactory, there are other provisions in the contract where that person can be exchanged. Right up front, I believe. I mean, I'm not, if you want to, I wasn't prepared to go line by line and debate the contract, but if you want to, I can. It would just take a few minutes to do so. It says in paragraph 1 that the USA Staffing Services, which purports to be a licensed staffing agency, shall provide employees to be temporarily placed and assigned to the Gettysburg School District if the employee assigned to the district is unable to complete the specific assignment or proves to be unacceptable to the Gettysburg Area School District, USA Services will find a replacement in a timely manner. The contract is not perfect. This came in a rush about a week or so ago with a very difficult search for nurses, and this firm was presented as an alternative. My understanding in speaking with Brandy Glenn Akers, who was the one who bird dogged this, that they have a couple of people on their roster that the district found to be quite desirable. And so it was a last-minute push to get this agreement into acceptable form.
So if you would look at item 13 on page 2, where it does reference
yes, I see that.
that
Yes, I see
4-hour
that.
minimum, and then
I
they
see
are
that.
satisfactory.
I see that.
Yes.
You read that, I see that, and I saw that before. I'm recommending as solicitor that this agreement is acceptable. It's not perfect, but it's acceptable, and it is 100 times better than what was presented to us. And I was told, don't let this contract go by. We must have these people. So we only had so much leverage to deal with this. But if an employee proves to be unacceptable and in the future and the district can't get rid of them because of the interpretation of the contract, then come to me and complain to me about it then, and I'll apologize. But I don't think that's going to be the case.
You mentioned, and I'm not trying to debate with you, but you mentioned there was a rush timeline, which doesn't really feel like a routine approval also. It feels like that rush timeline may be what's the determining factor. Is there any advantage to waiting until the next meeting to see if there's any additional language changes that could be made to benefit the district?
I don't know what language changes I would raise. I would, the areas that I would address more than anything else would be indemnification and insurances. They started out with the school district indemnifying them, in effect providing insurance for them and for their malfeasance. I refused on behalf of the district to accept that and decided we as an institution would be better off with no indemnification at all, either way. But in terms of, I don't know that I would materially change this agreement anyhow.
Thank you, and I respect your forthrightness.
Are there any additional questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, roll call. Tim?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Timon?
Yes.
Carrie?
No.
Amy Beth?
Yes?
Mike?
You already got me, yes.
Who'd I miss?
Me.
Oh, Al.
Yes.
And I vote yes. Sorry about that, Al.
No problem.
That brings us to the three separate items that were peeled off. We're going to do those individually. The only way they move forward is if there's a motion to amend the minutes. We're going to start with 5.2.
Kathleen Pratt, so moved.
Well, I didn't make the motion. You can make the motion.
Sorry about that, Mr. President. Kathleen Pratt, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes of 5.2, Board of School Directors Work Session, August 2nd, 2021.
Second, Carrie Saleh.
Is there a question on the motion on the floor for an amendment of 5.2? Hearing no question, roll call. Amy Beth?
No?
Timon? No. Carrie?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Al?
No.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Tim?
No.
And I vote no. 5.3.
Kathleen Pratt, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes of 5.3, Board of School Directors meeting, August 2nd, 2021.
Kathleen, if I make a suggestion, would you let us know what the change would be? Because I think some of the board members may not have picked up on that. So if...
Oh, sure. And actually, to my colleagues on the board, you should have in front of you a duplicate of what I emailed to all of you that shows the recommended changes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second, Carrie Saleh.
Question on the motion on the floor. Roll call. Kathleen?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Al?
No.
Carrie?
Yes.
Timon?
No.
Tim?
No.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
No?
And I vote no. 5.4, regular board minutes. Do I have a motion?
I move to amend the minutes of 5.4.
Carrie, is the board aware of what you want to actually amend?
Yes, I sent an email, but I can reference it. It was stated that the LIU was providing the online learning curriculum, I believe it was, but I believe it's capital area IU. Is that correct? Dr. Lay, who's providing the online? 1 second, I have to find it. It's capital area IU, not Lincoln Intermediate Unit.
Is there a question on the motion on the floor?
Could that be repeated? I had trouble hearing that.
So there was discussion concerning the memorandum of understanding between the district and the Gettysburg Area Education Association. Discussion was held concerning the cyber classes and who would be teaching them. It was noted that the teaching is being outsourced through the LIU. That part is incorrect. It is through Keola, which is out of the capital area intermediate, two different entities. So I'd like to strike LIU and replace it with capital area intermediate unit, and the Gettysburg teachers will be the evaluators.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kathleen Pratt, I will second that motion.
A question on the floor. I do have a comment. I don't know that it's a vote up or down, and I know I've talked to board members. The minutes are summarized by our secretary, the board, and I understand they're official minutes, but we're also live streamed and we're also taped, so members can obviously go back if there's a glaring misinterpretation of what the minutes say, and I think that's might be where we're at. But anyway, roll call on 5.4. Mike?
No.
Tim?
No.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Timon?
No.
Carrie?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes on that. Would the minutes reflect the change of Carrie?
LIU to capital area IU.
We're just changing the name.
Mm-hmm.
Items for board action, 6.1, boardroom technology and infrastructure upgrade. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hershey, second.
Questions?
Mr. President, I may have missed that, but I think you need to now once...
Oh,
now
I
you've been-
apologize. You did
Yeah.
miss that, and I move forward. Folks, we have to go back and accept 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4 on a separate vote. May I have a motion for those three items?
Amy Beth Hodges, I'll put through a motion for 5.2, 5.3, and 5.4 to be approved.
Tim Sigmund, second.
Question?
Mr. President, Kathleen Pratt, can we separate those three, please? So that we vote on each individually?
I can separate them.
Thank you.
5.2. May I have a motion, please?
I will put forth a motion for 5.2 to be approved.
Second, Tim Sigmund.
Question? Hearing none, roll call. Carrie?
No.
Al?
Yes.
Kathleen?
No.
Tim?
Yes.
Timon?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion for 5.3.
Amy Beth Hodges, I'm going to put another motion through for 5.3 to be approved.
Tim Sigmund, second.
Question? Hearing none, roll call. Kathleen?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes. Sorry.
Carrie?
No.
Timon?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion 5.4, minutes.
Amy Beth Hodges, I'll put the motion through for 5.4 to be approved.
May I have a second?
Second, Carrie Soliday.
Question? Roll call. Tim?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Timon?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Amy Beth?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Items for board action 6.1. May I have a motion on the boardroom technology and infrastructure, please?
Amy Beth Hodges, again, I'm going to put through 6.1 to be approved.
Second, Tim Sigmund.
Questions?
Not a question, but a comment. When we went through a renovation project when I was the superintendent at South Middleton, Boiling Springs, we had a very, very similar situation where we upgraded our administrative room for professional development and also for board meetings. The types of improvements that we're looking to make here are very similar to what we made there. The feedback that we got from our audience, like the people that are in the crowd here today, made it a lot more user-friendly, a lot more customer service-oriented, and it was very much appreciated that in the long term, when we are all off of this board, future boards will, I think, appreciate and thank us for these renovations and for these strategies to really improve the services that we can provide to our audience and to the general public. So I wholeheartedly support the action here in 6.1.
I'll take a moment. I actually support it also, and I think more so because I'm a firm believer in transparency. If anybody's watched this on live stream, I defy you for me to tell you who's sitting at this table. And if you don't announce your name, people outside either got used to your voice or they don't know who's talking, and you can't even see it. So the technology is past us. The stuff that we have right now is plus 20 years, and replacement parts cannot be even found to change stuff up. We have no ability to go back there to live stream and allow the public to see our meetings for those that unfortunately can't have the pleasure of attending these meetings. So I do support that.
Mr. President, Sylvan Hershey, I don't mean to be critical of anyone in the past who has gotten what they've gotten to improve that facility by piecemealing it, but I think it's now time to do a one-time unified update by professionals to accomplish our mission.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. Amy Beth.
Yes?
Timon.
Yes.
Carrie.
No.
Mike.
Yes.
Al.
Yes.
Kathleen.
No.
Sylvan.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
And I vote yes. 6.2, the solicitor advertisement, it was outlined in the on the agenda.
Mr. President, this is Amy Beth Hodges. I'd like to put through a motion at this time. The Board of Directors of the Gettysburg Area School District direct our solicitor to implore the potential lawsuit or whatever he has deemed appropriate, including but not limited to joining an already existing class action lawsuit, seeking an injunction, the Department of Health and the Governor Wolf's current mandate overriding the approval of the district health and safety plan.
Second, Mike Dickerson.
Motion on the floor. Question?
Not a question, but a comment. I am a substitute teacher for the district, and I help out because there's a real need, not because I want to take work away from anyone else. I was very impressed with the way that our school day got started today. I was at the high school, and I want to commend the principals and the administrative team and the staff, and frankly, our students for a very positive and productive day, despite this district and many other districts being put into a very difficult no-win situation. The students and the staff handled it well. The administrative team handled it well. Frankly, I hate wearing a mask, but I do not trust the media or politicians, frankly. I do trust my friends and acquaintances in the medical field, including medical doctors, pediatricians, and so on. They have shared with me that when you cannot distance, masks do help to some degree to curtail the spread of the virus. Therefore, I choose, and as I substitute, and when I can't socially distance inside and so on, I will wear that mask as much as I hate wearing that mask. I'm hoping it's a temporary situation, and I'm hoping this virus is curtailed soon and we get a handle on it. But in the meantime, I would just say we are off to, today was a good day for the Warriors, and I commend our administrative team and our entire staff, and frankly, I commend our students, but the vast majority had a terrific day. Thank you.
Mr. President, Sylvan Hershey.
Recognized.
Having two granddaughters in the school district, it is my belief that our students are put into a position where they cannot meet the 6 feet, they cannot meet the no masks, and those environments are such that I believe our students are put at risk by having the opportunity to not wear a mask. So I am concerned about the health and well-being of all our students who might be in a facility that does not permit, without a lot of effort and money, to change the structure of it. And I think masks would certainly be the way to go.
Mr. President, Kathleen Pratt. Ms. Hodges, can you please repeat that motion? Thank you.
Absolutely. The Board of Directors of the Gettysburg Area School District direct our solicitor to implore a potential lawsuit or whatever he deems appropriate, including but not limited to joining an already existing class action lawsuit seeking an injunction on the Department of Health and the Governor Wolf's current mandate overriding the approval of the district of our health and safety plan.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, I think there's a lot to talk about. And we've got so much disagreement in this room, among our community, on this board. But the one thing that we all agree on is that we want to keep the kids in school. Their mental health depends upon it. Sometimes the very food they eat in a day depends upon it. And of course, their learning depends upon it. And I'm uncomfortable, frankly, with bucking this mask mandate that truly has the backing of law behind it. Thank you.
Carrie.
Mr. President, I'm confused because what's listed on the agenda item is different than the motion that's on the floor. What's listed on the agenda item is that the board discuss and take action to direct the solicitor to advise on the appropriateness to challenge the order of the Pennsylvania Department of Health regarding masks and advise on the best way to proceed, which is far different than the motion that was made. Anyone who is certified to work in Pennsylvania schools would have to follow any Pennsylvania-provided guidance, mandate, law, constitution, school code in order to retain that certification. So the motion on the floor is different than what is here.
I firmly disagree with you. The motion on that it actually correlates right with it. And if you look at the motion, I believe the motion represents the board of directors turning this over to the solicitor for his opinion as to whether or not this district has legal standing on either in a civil suit, standing alone, or in a class action lawsuit. I disagree with you. We're going to argue words here, but I disagree with you.
I didn't realize the board. I'm sorry.
I believe it's fully within. When you open that door, when you look at the agenda, it's proper that if a board member wants to make a particular motion like that, you're free to vote whichever direction you want to go. But am I missing something, Bob? I mean,
I'm interpreting them to be similar, and my interpretation is that if the board were to vote in the affirmative, it would simply be asking the solicitor to provide an opinion as to the best way forward should the board choose to take action to seek an injunction or something along those lines.
Thank you. So challenge has been defined as that perhaps the board wants to join a class action lawsuit, and that's not been something that's been predetermined.
well, I read the motion, and I think it was broadly stated. It allows, and I'll make another comment here in a second on the overall thing, allows our solicitor to look at this from a legal perspective to see where the district's standing is with this particular mandate. That's what I believe that motion represents.
Thank you for explaining.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'm concerned about that to challenge, not knowing whether our children in the Gettysburg Area School District will continue to be masked until a decision is made whether the governor has the right to recommend or to approve children wearing face masks.
Well, Sylvan, I understand your question, but we're going to go a different direction now because that's not actually what's on the floor right now, the decision, and I'll go there. Once again, we're put in this unattainable position. We can't win. We sit up here and we volunteer, and we passed a health and safety plan that by all accounts, when you looked at the school, you saw masking choices by parents where the vast majority of the kids came in without a mask. Parents made the decision. Please, because I'm really not taking a side. This isn't about masks for me. We sit and listen to people talk and we hear emails. It's about democracy. And democracy says that we can challenge particular mandates that come down and challenge other things to see if there's legal standing. I believe that that motion does exactly that. It allows this board, it directs the solicitor to look into that, and if it deems it necessary, either Gettysburg would stand on its own or we would join all the other school districts that have filed in onto this class action lawsuit. I believe that's what it is. And I think our health and safety plan, while we're at that, directed Jason, and if I remember, there were board members that complained about the health and safety plan. We got a ton of nasty emails. But aren't you lucky that we allowed our superintendent to make those choices, to make those changes he deemed necessary? Maybe not in the spirit that is happy for it, makes everyone happy, but it allowed him that if he saw a huge cluster, instead of coming back to the board, he had the ability to mitigate and put mitigation measures in there. So we can argue about mask or not mask, but for me, it's not about that. It's about us self-governing. We have had, one second, Sylvan, we have had unfunded mandates, we've had budget issues, we've had a whole host of issues that get shoved down on us. We're elected by the people right here in this school district, not in Harrisburg, and we make those decisions. We didn't come in here and say, forget democracy, forget everything else. This motion says, let democracy work. Let's just see if he stands up to that, is where I'm at.
So I'm not sure. I don't think I disagree with what you just said. My concern is that the governor of this state has said all public schools will have their children masked because of health risks. If this board agrees to have Bob look into it and to join all those districts that believe the governor doesn't have the right to do that, I'm fine with it, if that's the decision. But I do believe that until that decision is handed down, our kids should be following what the governor recommended through his health department, that our kids wear masks.
And if I might just jump in, that issue is not before the board, and there is no question that this solicitor has advised the superintendent and is advising the board that unless and until that mandate, that order is rescinded, changed somehow by the legislature, superseded by the legislature, or it is declared to be invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, it must be followed by this district.
That's exactly what I just thought I said.
Well, what I'm saying is you were questioning whether whether the school district would do that in the interim, and I am affirming that that is not the intent.
And Sylvan, again, I got to come back. You know, we're not going to. There's a whole host of issues that go with this, and for me, it really does come down to democracy. And I don't believe that I think this motion that's been put by Amy Beth allows us to move forward. And let's see where it falls out.
And I'm in agreement with that.
And quite honestly, if you look at this plan, there are exemptions out there for parents. Feel free.
Mr. President, I would just like to add, and we talk about democracy and letting the system work. So there's some data out there, and you can fact check it. So roughly 500 school districts in Pennsylvania, only about 50% of them even submitted health and safety plans to the governor's office. 12% of the ones that did submit plans voted in favor of mask mandates. So the people of this commonwealth, we are in a commonwealth, not a monarchy, decided what was best for their children, and they were going to send their children to school en masse. So I think the motion on the floor is going to let this district find out in a court of law if there is any legal standing or merit to this order. When I was elected to this school board and I took an oath of office, I swore to uphold and defend the Constitution, and I think that that's what we're trying to do. Let's see what the Constitution says, and let's see what the courts say.
Mr. President, Kathleen Pratt. This will not get claps, but I'm going to say it anyway. Democracy, absolutely. Period. Democracy, yes. Anarchy is something altogether different. If you'll indulge me for a moment, the definition of anarchy is a state of disorder due to non-recognition of authority. So is that what we're suggesting we do?
Kathleen, and I don't really want to debate, but I understand your point, but it's no different if you got a speeding ticket. Okay, were you speeding? You can still have a hearing. That doesn't make you an anarchist. And I'm certainly not sitting here, and I take exception if that's what you think what I'm saying in democracy is that I'm an anarchist. I'm a believer in the rule of law. I've spent 35 years defending this place. And I believe that, please, I believe that we have a responsibility to our voters, not all of them. This is not about politics, Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever you are. It doesn't make a difference to me. This is about whether or not this mandate holds the legal test. And I think we're in full right of asking that question.
Mr. President, it's Carrie Soliday.
Yes,
just
Carrie.
a comment. It's hard to know the intent of the motion when there may have been discussions prior to this sitting at this table today. And it just feels like there's gaps in understanding, and it's unfortunate. So, just
Carrie,
a comment.
Carrie, there may have been discussion, and quite honestly, there's discussion amongst board members. You and I have had discussion on various topics. We're not violating a sunshine law.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Oh, okay,
I
okay.
didn't
I was gonna
imply
say,
that
because
whatsoever.
If a member picks up the phone and contacts me and says, I want to add an item to the agenda, in the old days, they could bring it in here and they could put it on there. Unfortunately, the law changed according to our solicitor, and now it has to be put on so that the public has an opportunity to see it. And I know this public saw it because I answered the emails. So are there any additional questions on the motion on the floor?
Yeah, I'm gonna continue to harp on this. It's very simple in my mind. If we vote for what Amy Beth put forward, when will our students be allowed to choose whether they wear a mask or not?
I think I can answer that. The motion on the floor does not go to that direction. Dr. Perrin has a health and safety plan that was approved by this board, and any board members, if I'm misspeaking.
But I think it's a very simple question, Kenny.
Well, but it's not a simple answer because
I
we don't
can
have a
give the
rolling
simple
Sylvan.
answer. I can give the simple answer.
Good.
The mandate, the order, will be in place and will be enforced by this district until such time as it's rescinded or it's declared invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction. That's what I said before, and I'm saying it again.
I appreciate that, and I agree with it, and that's what I was looking for, and I guess I need to have my hearing checked.
One more question, please, Mr. President. This is Carrie Soliday.
Yes.
So the words class action lawsuit also imply that the district would be paying for the solicitor's service to join this class action lawsuit, join in any meetings, discussions, and whatnot. Is that correct?
I don't know. There's no way to know that until we explore it.
Again, the one thing that the board would be obligating itself to do is to pay for the time that I or others in my firm would invest in doing the appropriate research to come back to advise the board. But the board is not obligated in any way to join in any lawsuit or to start a lawsuit or whatever.
Thank you for that clarification.
Pardon?
She said
I said thank you.
Oh.
She actually said thank you.
My ears are old.
It's okay, I have a soft voice.
Carrie, I don't have the timetable, but I will tell you that it's my understanding that this suit's being heard on the 16th.
The 16th of this month?
Yes.
I will be offering clarification to most of your questions in my legislative report to follow at the end of the meeting.
Are there any additional questions on the motion?
Mr. President?
Tim?
I just got one other thing, and I do believe in the democracy end of this whole conversation. I understand, Kathleen was thinking it's more of anarchy. And to me, anarchy would be if the district decided just not to follow the order in general today. That would be anarchy. Us going through the proper channels in the court system is democracy. It's not anarchy. And I think that we, as a district, need to follow the Constitution, the laws, and take every bit of that opportunity at our discretion to do that.
Are there any additional questions? Hearing none, the motion on the floor, roll call. Amy Beth?
Yes?
Timon?
Yes.
Carrie?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
Kathleen?
No.
Sylvan?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Motion carries. As a point of transparency for the board and the audience, I will be working directly with Mr. McQuaid on the timetable and the information, and as soon as I have something, I'll have it back out available to the board. Would that be correct, Bob?
You're my leader.
Thank you. Informational items. Do you have anything, Jason, or was it just all included?
Said hello on Friday.
Yeah, the only thing I would have, if you look at your budget timeline, and I mentioned that earlier in this, it's the hopes that we can get through this because we're going to come to budget time again, and I'm a strong proponent, and I believe other board members are, that this district needs to start to look to a 5- and 6-year balanced budget plan, and that we're not spending what we don't have each year and have coming back to the taxpayers, because it's clear to me we're not going to get any relief from Harrisburg or anybody else. It's going to be on the backs of the citizens. Having said that, board committee reports, I'll start down.
Do you mind, I did have a comment related to 7.1, which is the budget timeline. It's more for Belinda, if you don't mind. Can we please know if the administration is going to commit to when the audit for the past year will be made public or made apparent to the public? Is that something that we can count on, and do you have a timeline on when that would be out? So the question specifically, Belinda, is will the audit for the past year be made public? And when would it be made public so that people can view it?
Yeah, so our goal is to have the first review in final form to the Facility Finance Committee in December. And then the board would see the final budget, final audit complete in its final form in the January meeting of 2022. And I believe that's listed on the timeline. And that is what we've given our auditor instructions is to do, is we're trying to meet that goal, if not before.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Board committee reports. Look, can I start down at the far end? Carrie, did you have anything this evening?
I do not.
Okay, and then if I come back up through Amy Beth?
I do. Members of the State Senate group and parents filed a lawsuit Friday seeking to overturn Wolf's administration's new mask mandate for Pennsylvania schools. The mandate date started today, September 7th. The governor's spokesperson dismissed what she called the GOP's effort at undermining public health. The suit filed at the Commonwealth Court asserts the action of Health Secretary Allison Beam failed to comply with the state law that she had ordered the mask mandate to be worn in all Pennsylvania public schools and private schools and child care facilities. The lawsuit looks to prove that the masking order is not valid because it does not go through the state regulatory review process. It also accused Wolf administration of trying to circumvent newly approved constitutional amendments limiting the governor's emergency power back in May of this year. The parents said in an affidavit that they intend to send their children to school without masks, claiming Bream's order is illegal. The lawsuit seeks an injunction against the mandate order, and the court scheduled a hearing for September 16th. Wolf said this week that the universal statewide order was necessary after most of the Pennsylvania's 500 school districts did not impose their own mask mandates. Masking has been a subject of heated debate like tonight here at this school board meeting, with parents arguing for and against it. As the Gettysburg Area's district legislative liaison, I have had the opportunity to speak with State Representative John Joyce, Representative Dan Mao, our 33rd District State Leader Doug Mastriano. All three local leaders have directed our district with the main focus for us to stay steadfast and choose choice for their constituents. After my thoughtful discussions with these three leaders, I reached out to the board leadership and with their words, along with the superintendent, Dr. Perrin. I look forward to updating you as things progress and develop. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Are there any additional board committee reports? Hearing none, building and program reports. Jason, I would only ask you one quick question, and I saw Jeremy had to depart. Where are we at on the status with the HVAC system at the high school? Are we still on target? Are there anything that substantially has changed, either on the financial end or timetable?
And I think that the phasing's still on target. Let me see if Jeremy's here. I gotta put my glass. No, he's not here. I don't see him there. Yeah, he had to go. It's still, we got through phase 1. We got school started on time, so we're in phase 2, working through that. But everything that I've heard, we're still on time.
Are there any additional comments or questions under building and program? Okay, calendar of events, unless something changes, our next board meeting is scheduled for September 20th at 7 o'clock. We made an announcement we were moving back to the administration building, but recognizing, actually, let me step back. Jeremy, you came into the room, and I apologize. I asked Jason on the HVAC system, is there anything from your position as the district principal, the high school principal, that we should know about related to that?
First, excuse me, because someone said earlier that someone wasn't allowed in my school this morning. Pretty sure that didn't happen. So I was just trying to seek clarification because they were all allowed in today. And it was a pretty good day. Thanks for noticing, Dr. Moyer. HVAC, it's coming along bit by bit. We were just happy to be back in school for the first day. Kids were excited. And, you can, as they start to tweak and tune systems, which has taken a little while, we had some really, really chilly classrooms the first couple days of school, but they're making adjustments. The system is settling down. The lighting looks great. Still plenty of work to do. Still construction zone. Cafeteria, kitchen is now open. The first week of school, it was a lot of prep work in the middle school kitchen. Thanks to everybody involved in that effort, because the folks in our food service area are incredible. So hats off to them. So opened up the kitchen this past week. That's going really well. Lots of great food, and again, a great staff serving it. And it's great to see kids cooperatively moving through a line and acting like civil citizens. It's really impressive when you throw 1,000 of them together, and it just all happens fairly well for the most part. But the work will continue. Our auditorium is closed. Our music wing is closed. So the work can continue there throughout the fall. And it's give and take everywhere in the building, which is where you need collaboration and cooperation and respect, because we have orchestra going on in the library. We have band going on in the auxiliary gym. That moves the wrestling match into the regular gym. We have chorus in the cafeteria. So it just takes a total team effort, and everybody looking after each other and treating each other well. And it is possible when we put our minds to it. And I'm just happy that I work in a building where everybody tries to care for each other as well as possible. So what other specific questions do you have about the project itself?
And I think we wanted just to see how we're progressing along and if you had any concerns.
It's on schedule. Just want to keep it on schedule and keep doing school as well as we can and keep kids healthy and in classrooms.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Jeremy.
Indeed.
Thank you.
One last thing before the calendar of events, we made a notification that we were moving back to the admin building, but we recognized that we may have a few people at our meeting tonight. I think we bet right. And I did not want to force people out in the parking lot. That's never my goal. So we will be here at the middle school auditorium through the month of September. And we'll reevaluate where we're at with the administration building after that, in addition to where we're at with the number of people that's going to occupy one space. On a closing note, and if a board member wants to add anything, please feel free, and I don't want to take anyone else's time, but we always talk about communication and a lack thereof. I just want to make a note to the people that are here and maybe listening or watching this. I'm responsible for responding to emails collectively for the board. It's not my personal opinion when I respond to emails. I have to respond representing all 9 members and what all 9 members voted on, whether I agree or don't agree. So if my emails are a little short and to the point, it's because I can't comment on some of that. And I know some people email 10, 11 questions. I am not going to answer 10 or 11 questions. You can attend a board meeting, watch the board meeting, or go to the administration or your administrator. And quite honestly, a lot of the questions, Nancy or Jeremy or somebody could circumvent right from the start and get a clarification, and we'd be good to go. Having said that, does any board members have any closing comments?
Yes,
Who said that?
I do.
Okay.
Last board meeting, I recommended that we have a new number 10, and that is board member comments. Where do we stand on that?
Sylvan, I got caught up with a change that came from Harrisburg, and I didn't get to that yet. But
Well,
I do have that noted.
My knowledge, and Dr. Perrin may be able to either agree or disagree on this one, as board president, you would have the authority to add a number 10 as to board member comments. It doesn't take voting of the entire board for the board president to do that.
No, Sylvan, I can do that, and that's my intentions. And if you notice, I just gave everybody an opportunity to say something because I recognize that it's not actually listed on here, but I am trying to honor your request from last. You're going to have to give us time, the start of school and all the other factors. Plus, I have a job and I have a family.
I understand what you just said, and I still am the type of learner, observer, is when I look at a board agenda on Friday, I was hoping to see what I recommended, and I didn't see it, but I did hear what you said, and I appreciate that, but it still would be nice to see it on a board agenda.
I'll make a note of that, and hopefully you can remind me also as it gets closer, because I got a little bit on my agenda too. But yes, Sylvan, I'll take care of that. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.